Hello, everyone. Cecil Martin here.
Hey, this is Hunter Henry.
What's up, man? This is Max Crosby, part of Raider Nation.
Hey, this is Ross Tucker, former NFL offensive lineman.
Hey, it's Tyler Lockett of the Seattle Seahawks.
Hey, this is Jerry Judy, wide receiver for the Denver Broncos, and you're listening to the 14-Yard NFL Podcast.
Wow, just wow. What a weekend of football that was. The NFL playoffs started with a bang, with what might go down as one of the greatest weekends of playoff football we have ever seen, and I cannot wait to talk about it. You're listening to the Full 10 Yards NFL podcast. I'm your host, Sam Moores, and this is the main show from the Full 10 Yards podcast network, which is your home for British commentary on the NFL. Welcome back if you are a regular listener. It's great to have you here with us again. And if you're new around here, welcome. If you enjoyed the show today, please make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube. Or if you're listening on your preferred platform, feel free to leave us a review. It really helps us find more NFL fans both in the UK and across the pond. And if you're unaware, our network ranges from team-specific podcasts, like the Falcons UK podcast, to this, our weekly deep dive of everything in the league audio form. And then there's also regular content on our website too. On today's episode, Ben Isaacs will join me to react to the 6 matchups of a stellar wildcard weekend before attention turns to the 4 divisional round matchups, for which we will give our predictions. I'm sure you're aware of Ben, as he has been on the podcast several times in the past few seasons and is a very well-respected broadcaster based here in the UK. But if you haven't, then, well, fun fact, he is the author of the American Football Revolution. He has covered every single NFL International Series game here in London. Welcome back to the pod, Ben. Obviously, Ben, you've been covering the league for a while. What was this the best wildcard weekend that you can remember?
Very possibly. I always say that the divisional round of the playoff is the best weekend in the entire season. That you've got, you don't always end up with the 8 best teams. Obviously, there were upsets and all this sort of thing, but the divisional round, usually those games are more even. You've got teams playing at a higher standard. You've got teams that have got their tails up because they've just won a playoff game, and you've got the number 1 seeds coming in. And I think it's usually better than the wildcard weekend. You get some mismatches. But the wildcard weekend we had, and it was front loaded. Like, those first 3 games were absolutely incredible. And I think obviously the 3 games afterwards were not as good. You know, the Patriots win wasn't as entertaining for the neutral. The Texans win wasn't as entertaining for the neutral. So I'm going to say it's the best wildcard weekend I can remember. At the very least, it's the best since they expanded wildcard weekend. But I don't ever remember any time there have been 3 playoff games in a row that were as insane as the first 3 that we had over the weekend. I don't think it would be safe to have 6 of those. I don't think it would be good for people's health to try and consume 6 games like that over the course of like 3 nights. I don't think that's something that should be allowed.
Well, even the Niners-Eagles game was a really good game as well. Yeah, so you're then talking 4 good games. And I mean, 4-2 is a great ratio for the wildcard round because a lot of the time it's a blowout. Yeah, a lot of the time there's some blowout games. I think for me it was, it's rare you see that many one-score games this early in the playoffs. And I mean, you know, that Saturday early game as well, the Rams-Panthers one, traditionally that's always been a blowout. And even that was brilliant. Like, according to Opta, this weekend was the first time in NFL history that there were 4 games decided by 4 points or fewer in a single post-season round. Obviously, the Rams beat the Panthers by 3, the Bears beat the Packers by 4, the Bills beat the Jaguars by 3, and the 49ers beat the Eagles by 4. And over 80% of the plays during wildcard weekend occurred during a 1-score game, and 4 games, as I said, were decided by 4 points or fewer. That is the most in a single round in postseason history, as I said. And in those first 3 games you mentioned there, Ben, 0 of the 3 teams that led at the 2-minute warning of the 4th quarter won the game as well. I mean, this year truly is the year that anyone can beat anyone, isn't it?
Yeah, you've got so many quarterbacks that have incredible self-belief. And we saw that with, I mean, obviously Matt Stafford has kind of been there and done it. He's seen it all. Josh Allen not been to a Super Bowl, but we know he has seen and done pretty much everything. Caleb Williams obviously is blossoming before our very eyes. Brock Purdy is showing that, anyone who's continually doubting him, they need to stop doubting him. The things he's doing there are pretty special. So I think we're in a great time now for quarterbacks. And I feel just a few years ago, we were not. That I felt like there were not anywhere near 32 players good enough to be a high-level starting quarterback in the NFL. I think there has been a fantastic influx of young quarterbacks, and we saw that this weekend. A lot of the quarterbacks who are having great games are young players.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a minute because there is a really good stat that I saw today on that we'll get into later on. First of all, let's go through all of these games. Let's start by talking about what we saw go down on Sunday, Monday, and obviously also Saturday as well. It's so great to have Saturday football as well, and we've got one more week of that. And we'll start in Carolina on the Saturday, where the Panthers came so close to winning their first playoff win since the 2015 NFC Championship game on the return to the postseason after an 8-year absence. But it wasn't to be, as the Rams drove down the field and took the lead through Corey Parkinson with 38 seconds remaining, which ended up being the game-winning touchdown. I think this was the perfect start to the postseason, to be honest with you. Both teams went back and forth, but it was the Rams who advanced, getting past the Panthers, who handed them a loss in the regular season. The Rams got their own back in the playoffs. What did you learn in this game, Ben?
The Rams are vulnerable. The Rams are vulnerable, and I felt that the Rams were as good as any team in the NFC. And when they took a 7-0 lead against the Panthers on their first possession, I tweeted out, "Game over." That I saw no way that the talent level between these two teams it's a big gap, right? There is a real gulf in talent between the Rams and the Panthers. And I would say when it comes to the coaching as well. And we don't always see in the playoff that an underdog like this that doesn't have the players, doesn't really have the coach in comparison with, the opposition. We don't see them come back like this. But the Rams are vulnerable. The Panthers defense did a pretty good job, all things considered, keeping the Rams from getting a ridiculous score. I mean, Alex Smith has said he thinks they're going to score 50 against the Bears. Now, the Panthers secondary did an admirable job, all things considered. And Bryce Young, I mean, basically, he has improved a lot, but he was not able to get things done enough. Barely completed 50% of his passes. But when I look at this Panthers team, and they put up over 300 yards, in total offense, which I did not think they were going to do. At the start of the season, I thought they were going to be improved. I did not expect them to be anywhere near the playoffs, and I know that they, didn't come in with a great record, only 8-9. But they just kept pace with the Rams, and mentally they just didn't look defeated. And they were just with them for most of the game. There was a point, I think they were like 10 points down, and they just kept pace with them. Mentally, it shows how strong they are. I'm really excited to see the Panthers next season because I think they are going to improve. The Rams, though, this is a team that could win the Super Bowl, and this might be the hardest game they end up having. Not because the Panthers are the best team, but the Panthers just had a real plan for them. But with the talent that the Rams have got in terms of the offensive weapons, in terms of that wide receiver room, they should not be in a 3-point game with the Carolina Panthers. So I give the Panthers more credit than the Rams for this game.
I mean, as I said earlier, the Panthers beat the Rams like 3 or 4 weeks ago. So this is always going to be a tough game for the Rams. They got through it. That's the main thing. And again, they got guys back. They got Devontae Adams back. They got Quentin Lake back, who again is a tremendous player on that defense and is so key because he's that sort of Cole Hamilton gadget player in the back of that defense. They both back. They truly did miss those guys in their sort of slump down the stretch. I still think they're NFC favourites in my mind. I just think they very rarely play in the wildcard round. They normally have the bye. They also normally rest starters in week 18 and didn't do that because obviously you're fighting for position. So I think it's just like it's a different version of the Rams we're seeing this postseason to what we've ever seen before, I think. So yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see how they stand up against the Bears. And then yeah, as for Carolina, I mean, I think we learned they're not too far away. I think they are excellently coached. I think Dave Canales is a great coach, and Ejiro Evero on the defense again. A couple of years ago, he was having head coach interviews. They're really lucky to have him. He's turned around that defense in a year. It's been brilliant. Tyrone McMillan's going to be a star as well. We've seen that this season. And again, Bryce Young played well behind a banged-up offensive line, lost the entire left side of his back offensive line in this game as well. So I think they're going to have a bright future. If you can just get them a pass rusher, like Nick Skirton's been good in his first year. If you can just get a premier pass rusher in this team and another weapon of some sorts for Bryce Young, I think that this Panthers team are going to be one to watch in the future. Right, let's move on to the overnight game that followed this one on Saturday. The Bears recovered from an 18-point deficit to beat the Packers 31-27. I mean, as a Bears fan, Ben, I just want to know how you dealt with the emotions of this game, really.
No, I have rewatched the last kind of half an hour or so real time rather than game time. The last half hour or so of that game so many times now, kind of trying to figure it out. And I've listened to the Prime broadcast with Herb Street and Al Michaels. I've listened to the Packers radio broadcast of it. I've listened to the Bears radio broadcast of it. On the Packers radio broadcast of it, when DJ Moore was open for that touchdown, not the play-by-play guy, but the color guy, as the ball left Caleb Williams' hand, he just said, "Oh no." And he said it like I was so defeated. The ball hadn't even got to DJ Moore at that point, but it was the fact that DJ Moore was wide open, not because of, a kind of busted coverage, but because of the way that Ben Johnson had schemed that play. And it was one of the most important plays of the game. At that point, they were down, whatever it was, 3 points. They could have settled for a field goal and given the ball back to the Packers. And they went for the jugular, which is a brave decision at that point to kind of go deep rather than kind of keep kind of plodding down the field, either get yourself in field goal range to tie it up or to try and score late and not give Green Bay enough time. But they'd run a wide receiver screen earlier in the game, and they called that same play, and the Packers were ready for it. But Ben Johnson knew they'd be ready for it. He'd already planted the seed earlier, and it left DJ Moore. The plan for that play was always to go to DJ Moore, and that gave the Bears a lead. But of course, the Bears didn't wake up on offense or defense until like 3 quarters into the game. The Packers were in total control. The Bears had a completely banged up defense. So many starters lost. They lost another starter on the night. This is a defense that you should be able to attack and keep attacking. And the Packers just kind of stopped. I think the Packers thought the game was won. And I know they will never say this, but I think mentally they thought it was won. When it was like 21-3, they thought this was over. And the play calling changed. And if there's one team you don't do that against, it's the 2025 Bears, because we just see most weeks that they can do this. If anyone in the NFL can do it, they can do it. The Packers should not have lost that game. They absolutely should not have lost that game. They threw it away, but the Bears have got a lot of talent. They've got a lot of balls, and they've just got this kind of it factor that means you can't count them out, even when there's 5 minutes to go and they're down like 16 points or whatever it was, like 15 points. Like, incredible. Absolutely incredible. The Packers fans obviously are horrified. Plenty of talk about whether LaFleur should go. As a Bears fan, I'd love to see Matt LaFleur fired. I think he's a really good coach. I think the Packers be making a mistake if they did that. It looks like they won't. But I think what we learned is that the Bears are just much stronger mentally than these Green Bay Packers right now. And that can change. The Packers can get stronger that way. But I don't think anyone is mentally stronger than this Bears team. And it's been a fun ride as a Bears fan.
Yeah, it's a tremendous achievement. I mean, I mean, you mentioned a fun ride. I mean, I had you on in week 3, Ben. At that point, the Bears were 0-2, and quote, you said they were an absolutely disastrous and really poor coached team. Wow, so much has changed since then.
Yeah, and the thing is, I absolutely stand by that. And I would imagine if Ben Johnson was in the room with us right now, he would agree. And he acknowledged the things that they were not doing right. And they had such an early bye week. And when I saw how early that bye week was, I hated it. You want it, middle of the season. And it was as early as it can be. And Ben Johnson said, that's what we need. We need to just get some games under our belt, see what we're doing wrong, and then we spend the bye week fixing them. They could not run the ball. And then they got the bye week, and all of a sudden, they were averaging like 120 rushing yards a game. Everything kind of changed. The fact that the Cowboys had a terrible defense, and that's who the Bears played in week 3, and Ben Johnson tried new things, and then it was working, that changed everything. But they looked mentally weak and badly coached in week 1 against the Vikings. They threw that game away. They changed the play calls that they would later make in the season. And then when they play the Detroit Lions, they can't beat the Detroit Lions. Like, they've been well beaten by them twice now this season. And if they played the Lions in the playoffs, the Bears would be out by now. But it is night and day. That team in the first 2 weeks, the play calling has completely changed. You cannot imagine the Vikings coming back like they did in week 1 against this incarnation of the Bears team. There's just no way whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, Dennis Allen's defense has improved tenfold since the start of the season as well.
Yes.
It really has. Staying with defense, Green Bay's defense, I mean, I thought they played tremendously for most of the game, especially given the fact that they've had absolutely no pass rush. They had no pass rush with Micah Parsons. The other players on that defensive line were terrible numerically all year, and that's with Micah Parsons helping them out. And then, obviously, when you lose Micah Parsons, it's going to get even worse. And they've had absolutely no pass rush all since losing him. So I thought, I was expecting the Bears to run away this one because of that, but obviously that wasn't the case. But as the second half started, the Bears had figured them out a little bit. Obviously, the adjustments to play calls changed, and they collapsed in a big moment again. It's not the first time the Packers have lost in big moments. Obviously, they've been dominated in certain games in the NFC Championship game. They've been run over in certain games in the playoffs as well under Matt LaFleur. I agree with you. I don't think. I don't think they're going to fire him, but it's whether they've got a year left in his contract, and it's whether they don't want him next year coaching on a my bid deal's expiring at the end of the season, come and get me kind of thing. They want to get this. They want to address Matt LaFleur's future before the start of next season. Either way, I think it's smart to look him up. I personally think he is a great coach. Are you concerned about how the Packers always lose in the big moments? Quite often.
Yeah.
Anyway, obviously, the only other game that the Cowboys game a couple of years ago. That's the only one where I think the Packers have surprised in the playoffs under Matt LaFleur.
Yeah, they have wilted in the playoffs, and it's easy to look at that and say, he's getting out coached or whatever. It's not always as simple as that, and he's got a good record of getting the teams to the playoffs, which we can say is a kind of the Mike Tomlin effect, and obviously he's now out. You've got to be winning.
13 wins in his first 2 seasons. That's pretty good. Bear in mind, McCarthy missed the playoffs the 2 seasons before that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's a big step up from Mike McCarthy, even though Mike McCarthy got a Super Bowl ring out of it. That's all Aaron Rodgers and nothing to do with Mike McCarthy. Matt LaFleur is a much better coach. Matt LaFleur has had to deal with a transition to Jordan Love. Jordan Love is no Aaron Rodgers. I think I heard someone say the other day about if Jordan Love was playing in Tennessee, for example, he would not be talked about the way that he's talked about right now. I think he's a very good quarterback, but I think a lot of people want to put him in that top tier, and I really push back on that. Right now he looks like the 3rd best quarterback in the NFC North, if I'm honest, and I don't think they're going to be held back by Jordan Love. But I think there's a sense of entitlement has crept into Packers fans' minds that, well, look what we were doing before with Aaron Rodgers. Well, you don't have Aaron Rodgers. You went from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers. Nobody ever really does that. So if Jordan Love is your down quarterback, then you should be very pleased. Quarterbacks like him, there are plenty of them around, but playoff wins don't come around so easily. And I still think that Matt LaFleur has got playoff wins in his future. He could do with winning the NFC North sometime soon. They've got the longest drought of all the teams in the NFC North, but I think he's a really good coach. And I'm not that worried in terms of speaking as a neutral. I'm not that worried about the lack of playoff wins. I think they'll come.
Right, let's go on to Sunday's games now, starting in Jacksonville, where the Buffalo Bills won their first road postseason game since the 1992 AFC Championship game, beating the Jags 27-24. Again, starting as we did with the first two games, what a game this was. 4 fourth-quarter lead changes in this one, which tied a record for the most in a playoff game in history. Do you know what the other game that shares that record is, Ben?
Oh no, I don't. I saw the stats about it tying the record. No, what is the other one?
It was actually Rams Panthers from the day before.
We are truly blessed this weekend with those games. Yes, that's amazing.
Record breaking. In fact, this weekend's games were so mental that this is already the postseason with the most fourth quarter lead changes in NFL history, and we've only just played the wildcard round. So you've still got 3 more rounds of the postseason to go, and you've already had the most fourth quarter lead changes. That's just how mental this weekend's football was. This one had a brilliant finish. The Jags led by 4 with just over a minute remaining, but 2 huge plays in the final 2 minutes of the game also put Buffalo in the great position to win the game. Obviously, the first was a 36-yard pass to Brandon Cooks, who's been huge for the Bills in big moments since he signed mid-season the past couple of weeks, and we'll get to that pass in a minute by Josh Allen because it's just superhuman. And then about a minute later, obviously, the Jags forced the Bills to 4th and short at the 11, which Sean McDermott went for. And the Bills, who actually voted to ban the tush push in the summer, pushed their quarterback for not only the 1 yard, but a further 9 more to set up a goal-to-go scenario at the 1 yard line, which obviously they scored straight away through another Allen sneak. That left the Jags 59 seconds to go either score a game-winning touchdown with 59 seconds there, or set up a Cam Little field goal to take the game to overtime. But on the very first play, Trevor Lawrence threw his second interception of the day after Tre'Davious White tipped a pass intended for Jacoby Myers. There was a great play by Cole Bishop to go over and catch the tipped ball in the air. What a finish to that game. I think for me, there's only one person to talk about here, and that is Josh Allen. What a throw that was, getting absolutely drilled by Devin Lloyd and still getting that much zip on it 30 yards downfield. That looked like the average Tua pass, and when he's standing up and he's got plenty of time in the pocket, and that just shows how good of a quarterback Josh Allen is. That arm triangle is unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah, he is just... So I've just recorded an episode of Edge Rush with Nat Coombs and Propo, and Propo he says Josh Allen is an alien. The things that he does, you should not be able to do. The way that he was slinging the ball around, the way that tush push just went on for forever. I think if they'd done that at the 50-yard line, they still would have got near the goal line. And the thing is that I do think the Jags were trying to tackle him, but what they should have done is just pushed him into the end zone themselves at that point to give themselves more time. And they did basically let them score them on the Josh Allen sneak. They just stepped back. You get your touchdown. We know we're not going to stop you, but at least this way we get some time back. And I really thought this game was going to overtime. If there's a kicker, I'm going to put my money on. If it's from long distance, it's Cam Little. I thought they don't even need to gain that many yards. So they've got about a minute to do it. And I rubbing my hands together okay, we've had a couple of fantastic games, but we've got one going to overtime now. And I was very disappointed. I think just as a viewer who wanted to watch more of that game, the way that it seemed like as soon as the ball came out of Trevor Lawrence's hands, there was just a little bit too much mustard on it. A disappointing way for it to end, not just because of the fact that they lost, but the Jaguars could have really got themselves into position, and for it to happen immediately just felt a bit sad. I feel like the Bills might be the team of destiny. It's their first road playoff win since the 1992 AFC Championship game, which is absolutely shocking. That McDermott had never obviously won on the road in the playoffs, 0-5 under McDermott on the road. Maybe this is the year for Josh Allen. Maybe this is the year he finally gets to a Super Bowl. But there was a certain element of luck in this game, I feel. And I think the Jags will certainly feel that this was a real missed opportunity for them. They'd had such a great season. They did look like legitimate AFC Championship contenders. And I'm hoping that they can be healthier next year. And we'll see Travis Hunter back and making more of an impact, because we know the Jags are always going to have a game in London. We know this is a team we get to see, and they've done so much right this year. And Trevor Lawrence has really come on. Liam Cohen has shown that he belongs in the conversation with the best young coaches in this league. So they should be kind of pleased with how the season's gone, because they've taken so many strides. But that it's a heartbreaking way to lose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, such a good year. First year under obviously Liam Cohen and James Gladstone. I really like how their roster is built as well. I think they're really set up for success in the future. And yeah, for me, this game actually reminded me of the 2017 AFC Championship game, that the Jags were in a very similar situation as the Patriots. And again, the Patriots went and won that game right at the end. It was very, very similar. Obviously, the Jags, for a couple of years, I think they had 3 or 4 years without a playoff game after that AFC Championship game. I can't see that happening again this year. You know, now with this regime, to be honest, I think they're just too smart for that to be the case. Obviously, Jags fans will be really hoping that are right there. I know. I think obviously you don't know what's going to happen, but I think I won't be surprised to see them back in the playoffs next year for sure. I think there's certainly got a bright future.
Yeah, and you know, I always say about these Super Bowl windows, and I think it's fair to say the Jags have a Super Bowl window. You know, this is a playoff team. As long as you,
especially of how Trevor Lawrence grew throughout the season as well.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. If you've got a quarterback who you can rely on, the way they've been able to rely on Trevor Lawrence as the season has gone on, and you've got a head coach who really clicks with him, then that window stays open. And part of the reason that the Jags did not have a window after that fantastic season was the quarterback was Blake Bortles. And there was only so far you're going to go with Blake Bortles. Trevor Lawrence, although he's not lived up to the draft billing, has become one of the better quarterbacks in the league. He is someone you can get to the playoffs with. So, yeah, I certainly don't think we've seen the last of this team.
Yeah, absolutely. Just before we get on to the next game, Ben, I just want to know, I know how you're going to answer this based on what you said a few minutes ago, but if you had to name the AFC representative in the Super Bowl today, would it be the Bills?
Probably yes. I just think they've got this X factor. And I do really like the other AFC teams who are left in it, but I think it would take a brave person to be betting against the Bills at this point.
For me, it would be as well. I just think the gulf between Josh Allen and the other quarterbacks in the AFC is big as well. Obviously, there's no Patrick Mahomes, no Lamar Jackson. No one here in the AFC is really battle-tested in the playoffs. The only one who is Josh Allen. So yeah, I think I would pick them as well. They've got everything that you need to be in. There are some holes in this Bills team, but there's got everything you need to be good in the postseason. Great O-line, great run game, opportunistic pass rush that come up in the big moments. That's all you need in the playoffs, and Buffalo has all three. Yeah, I certainly think I would pick them right now, which is crazy with some of the losses I've had this season, but it's just the way this year has been. Right, one thing that is guaranteed is that we will see a new representative in the Super Bowl from both conferences now, because the Eagles were eliminated by the 49ers in the second of Sunday's games. I mean, again, Ben, what a game. We'll get to Philly in a minute. I want to start with the Niners, because somehow, without the likes of Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, and Brandon Ayuk, who's obviously not played a single down this season, they've made it to the divisional round or the playoffs and have won 13 games this season. I mean, this team managed to deservedly beat the Eagles in this one, despite losing George Kittle to an Achilles injury in this game as well. I mean, the votes have already been cast. as it's a very hot competition this year. But would you say that Kyle Shanahan is your coach of the year?
I would still go with Mike Vrabel, with Kyle Shanahan probably as a very close second. And like you say, the votes would be in. Now the way the games went on the weekend, I feel that obviously the job that Kyle Shanahan did was more impressive than the job that Vrabel did when you kind of look at the way that those games went. Absolutely incredible. The way that he gets the best out of Brock Purdy as well is fantastic, because I don't think Brock Purdy is that quarterback with many other teams. But he is exactly what Kyle Shanahan needs, and he makes Brock Purdy look like an all-pro half the time. He made Mac Jones look like a Pro Bowler. So Kyle Shanahan, at the very least, I would say then is NFC Coach of the Year.
Yeah, absolutely. I just think it's remarkable. I mean, you got to bear in mind as well. Purdy missed 8 games of this season, and I think the listeners know how big of a fan I am of Brock Purdy as well. Just the way he moves in the pocket, I think a lot of quarterbacks don't have, if I'm being honest. And when he went down in week 4, I absolutely did not see this kind of season from the Niners, because when the Niners have had injuries before, obviously they've got this incredible record of always getting to the NFC Championship game, which we'll talk about later on. But they either get to the National Championship game or win 5 or 6 games. I would have absolutely picked this team to win 5 or 6 games rather than reach the NFC Championship game potentially this year. And yet here we are, they're playing to get into another NFC Championship game. I mean, yeah, it is absolutely remarkable. Again, Robert Saleh as well. Shout out to him. I mean, I was worried about his defense heading into the playoffs. Because of how injured it is. You've got backups of backups playing on this defense now. But he just has this unit playing so well. They're absolutely balling right now, this Niners defense. And the way they managed that game against the Eagles on Sunday was I keep saying this word, but it was remarkable. Do you think that Sunday has got Robert Saleh maybe a head coach job a year after the Jets?
I think he's still got that Jets stink on him. And it might take one more year for people to just kind of completely move on from that. Now, the fact that Aaron Glenn has had a disastrous year in New York as well will, I think, make people look at Saleh and be like, well, the problems at the Jets were clearly much deeper than Robert Saleh, but he did not kind of cover himself in glory with the Jets. I think one more year of being a fantastic defensive coordinator, I think he's well liked in the league, then he's going to start getting more attention. And if obviously I'm a 49ers fan, I'm hoping that he just does not get that attention, because when you've got someone like him, who's kind of a fringe head coach candidate and one of the best coordinators in the league, you just don't want a guy like that to leave. That's why my policy would always be, if I was a GM or an owner, I want a hot young offensive guy as my coach. And then for a defensive coordinator, I want someone who's been a head coach, but perhaps they're the wrong age now, and that nobody is going to try and get them back to head coaching, that it didn't go well first time around. If Saleh was 15 years older, I think it's then fine. It's like, well, he can just be at the 49ers for the long term. And that he is key to the 49ers success. He has worked miracles with that defense that is like how they've even got 11 healthy players each snap is a wonder. And he has them playing like one of the best units in the league.
Absolutely. As for Philadelphia, well, believe it or not, they played half a game of football again. It's a bit of a tendency of the Eagles in recent weeks, where they just play one unbelievable half of football where they look like the Super Bowl champions that they were a year ago, and then another half of football every single week where they just do not look like that whatsoever. We saw that again. The offense was predictable again. There was drama on the sideline again. There was drama with AJ Brown again as well. I mean, that game on Sunday just summed up 2025 for the reigning Super Bowl champions, didn't it?
Yeah, everything that we've seen this season was just on display. The dysfunction, the issues with the offense, the lack of cohesion, the subpar coaching, all the kind of things where you look at Jalen Hurts and feel like, I don't know. I don't know about Jalen Hurts when things aren't going right for everyone. Everything we saw during the season came to pass in the playoffs. And we've seen before, teams, I mean, like the Chiefs last season, who just did not seem particularly good in the regular season. And then in the playoffs, they were able to put it together and get all the way to the Super Bowl until it then all kind of came apart. The Eagles didn't wait for the Super Bowl this time. They just plodded their way through, looked unimpressive for almost the entire regular season, got to the wildcard weekend and thought, well, no point changing now. Let's just do all the things that we've been doing wrong and we'll just lose to a better team. So it was expected. You know, I actually picked the 49ers in this one. I just didn't have faith in the Eagles. I think the Eagles have got to make some changes before they can get back to the Super Bowl. They've already, obviously fired the OC. So that's a start.
Yeah, well, that's my next talking point. Obviously, as you mentioned, offensive coordinator Kevin Patullo has gone. They're now heading into a search for an offensive coordinator once more. The last OC to last multiple years in Philly was Shane Steichen in Nick Sirianni's first 2 years in 2021 and 2022. Since then, it's been, rolling door of offensive coordinators. Some have lasted the season, some haven't. Basically, you either get a head coaching job or you are fired either mid-season or at the end of the season if you're the Eagles offensive coordinator. I mean, the next hire is such an important one for this very talented roster, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, they need to get this right, but the good thing for them is that there are plenty of good candidates right now. And I think first one on the list should be Mike McDaniel. I would get Mike McDaniel in, but the chances are if he does a good job there, then he'll probably be gone in a season anyway. So
if he doesn't get a head coaching job this year, he's got like 4 interviews.
Exactly.
So
yeah, I certainly think that Mike McDaniel will be a head coach again in the next few years. Maybe it won't be next year. If it's not next year, this is where I would go if I were him. This, I think, is the job that can set me up, providing I can get Jalen Hurts to listen to me. He doesn't listen to everybody.
Yeah, that's a good way to end the section for that game. Sunday Night Football now, which saw the Patriots win their first playoff game since the 2018 Super Bowl. Obviously, that win against the Rams wasn't to be with the Chargers. They've done so well to mask their injuries this year. I mean, Justin Herbert has been unbelievable at points with what he's had to work with, but going up against a full-strength New England team, it was always going to be tough. And the Patriots defense had their way with the Chargers offensive line, producing 6 sacks, not allowing a touchdown, and allowing under 100 rushing yards and under 150 net passing yards as well. Again, another stat courtesy of Opta. The only other team in the Super Bowl era to do all of that in a playoff game was the 1985 Bears against the Giants. And what did the Bears do in that season again, Ben?
Ooh, I think, if I remember correctly, I think there was a Super Bowl at the end of it. I mean, God, they didn't even allow a point in the playoffs. They didn't allow any points until the Super Bowl, which, so the Patriots are already behind the curve there. But this was a great performance from the defense. Drake made it everything he needed to do. Not the most exciting game. But obviously we've been a bit spoiled at that point with the 4 that came before. But the Patriots look set up. They just look like a kind of well-oiled machine. But I was not impressed by the Chargers at all. They really came across like absolute frauds. So I think harder tests ahead for the Patriots, including next week. And the conversations will continue about Justin Herbert and kind of in big games and when can the Chargers really make a playoff run? Because we know they've got talent there. But credit to the Patriots, though, because that defense performance was fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, the Chargers defense is good. I mean, Drake May looked vulnerable at points in this game. They forced a couple of turnovers. The Chargers offense just under Greg Roman just wasn't at the races at all. Again, with what he has in front of him, the wall in front of him, I feel really sorry for Justin Herbert. But again, I do agree with you. In the big moments, he has struggled from time to time. 2 really embarrassing playoff defeats in a row for Jim Harbaugh's Chargers. They had the horror against Houston last year, and then they have this one where, again, different circumstances. Obviously, their offense is a lot more injured this time than it was against Houston last year. But again, yeah, I do see what you mean there. I mean, the way NFL.com worded it, it makes it sound like highlighting the Chargers' performance in these last 2 playoff games. It makes it sound like Greg Roman was a horrible offensive coordinator for the Chargers. Obviously, he's just been fired this week, which wasn't the case. They've just been really unlucky, I think. But again, this is a new era for the Chargers now, which is fascinating. Someone has to make it work with Justin Herbert eventually, because the talent is off the charts. And again, this year, I think every year makes a little bit of growth. I think the game against the Chiefs in Brazil was like a real big, like, okay, this is the next step that Justin Herbert's taken. Since then, so much has happened around him that I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt, which I might not have given him last year, because I thought there have been really big moments where he has put the team on his back completely, which again he just didn't do before. But again, yeah, we'll see what this Chargers team are next year, right, Ben?
Yeah, and you know, they're just one good draft away from being the best team in the AFC West. You know, but that division, we would expect the Chiefs to be better next season, maybe. I mean, they can't be much worse. But if the Chiefs are better, and you've got the Broncos who have, you know, they were the number 1 seed in the AFC. We'll see what they can do now. They've actually got to play a playoff game. That's a competitive division. The Raiders will get better, but I don't expect them to be challenging next season. But this isn't a 2-way fight right now. This is a 3-way fight, because I'm not expecting the Chiefs to just fall off a cliff. So they've got to start getting it together. And I do like Jim Harbaugh, and I do think he can get it done, but there are things that just aren't quite right there with the Chargers.
Yeah, they also might lose Jesse Minter to a head coaching job as well, who's been a huge asset over the last couple of years. Right, there's only one game to talk about, and I saw the end of Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh. Tomlin has decided to stand down with a year and the option for another year still remaining in his contract after an ugly game of football that saw the Steelers eliminated from the playoffs. Pittsburgh were obviously never going to fire Tomlin after everything he's done for the organisation, never having a losing season under his tenureship. It's just a real change of the times moment for him to call it quits in Pennsylvania. And that fourth quarter on Monday felt like the end, seeing a 7-6 game in the fourth quarter turn into a 30-6 game really quickly after the Texans defense forced Aaron Rodgers into a fumble, which was then recovered for a touchdown. And then moments later, they followed that up with a pick six. So, yeah, the Steelers fell to their 7th straight playoff loss in a row, meaning they have now gone 9 seasons without a playoff win, despite Tomlin, again, never once having a losing season in his 19 years in Pittsburgh. Your reaction to the news, Ben?
In terms of the Steelers losing their first playoff game, I was stunned. You know, I mean, this is the last thing that we expect, for them to sneak into the playoff and then, you know, lay an egg. But no, in all seriousness, I don't think many people thought the Steelers were going to win this game. I don't think many of us thought it was going to be, you know, a 24-point rout. But of course, it was close for a while. It was just got out of hand in the fourth quarter. The Steelers are a very limited team. But I was surprised that Tomlin stepped down. I thought that he would run it back another year with Rodgers. It has not been a disaster with Rodgers. That Tomlin is clearly a coach that he will respect and, you know, won't act like the Aaron Rodgers we've seen in the past. And Aaron Rodgers had a decent enough season, you know, and it allowed them to kind of do other things. But maybe they should have kept George Pickens. It just... things were not.
I mean,
right.
Their defense was nowhere near the standard of previous years. If the Steelers defense was half as good as it has been the last 5-6 years, this Steelers team could have been something. But you know, it was actually Aaron Rodgers' offense that was often winning the games for this team, which we didn't expect coming into this season.
And you know that AFC North was up for grabs this year, and all credit to them, they grabbed it. The Ravens kind of threw it away. The Bengals, because of the Joe Burrow injury, were never in it, and the Cleveland Browns are the Cleveland Browns. So even though it was like only 10-7, they didn't even look like a good 10-7 team. They deservedly won that division. You know, they were more consistent, but this was not one of the better Steelers teams of recent years. And even at home, I had no expectation of them winning this game. I don't know what the future is now for the Steelers. This is an organization that is very patient, does not make knee-jerk reactions, and you know, the fact that Tomlin, if he was at some other teams, this run of scraping into the playoffs, 8-8 seasons and these sort of things, never winning playoff games. I think a lot of teams would look and think, do you know what? That Super Bowl victory was a long time ago. Maybe we need to be pushing him out. The Steelers did not do that. Now, I personally think that's to their credit, but I think part of the Steelers' problem has been is that Tomlin is a good enough coach that they didn't have any disastrous seasons. And sometimes a disastrous season will give you that reset, will give you that high draft pick, someone that's just gives you that kind of injection. If they'd been able to take a high-ranked quarterback in the draft rather than take Kenny Pickett, who they reached for, then things might have been different for Mike Tomlin. It's gonna be weird seeing someone else on that Steelers sideline.
I mean, in the whole AFC North, the only coach remaining in the AFC North is Zach Taylor, which is just crazy. Yeah. Again, and arguably, I personally think that he shouldn't be the coach in Cincinnati right now. I think there's way better head coaches that Joe Burrow could be working with, to be completely honest with you. The AFC North is just going to look... Well, the AFC North for the last 20 years has been this Steelers-Ravens battle, really, and then the Bengals have had a couple of years with a couple of different quarterbacks. Obviously, with Marvin Lewis, they were always there or thereabouts, winning 9-10 games. That's what the AFC North has been for so many years. It's going to be completely different after this year, which is just crazy. The end of Mike Tomlin could mean the end of Aaron Rodgers, who obviously has won 4 MVP awards and a Super Bowl ring in his 21 years in the NFL. What do you think he will do?
At the end of that game, I really thought he was going to come back to Pittsburgh. And now with Tomlin standing down, I'm not convinced that's the case anymore. It's obviously going to depend a lot on who they bring in. He's going to be a free agent. And I'm sure if the Steelers say to him, we'd love you to stick around and play another season, I think he would sign that contract in a heartbeat. And I think he's got a lot of respect for the Steelers, a lot of respect for the Rooney family, and he won't try to drag this out and tease them along like he kept doing in Green Bay. I don't think he's going to do that with the Steelers. He got so comfortable in Green Bay that he felt he was running the show. And I think in Pittsburgh, he's never got that impression. And I think he's been fine with that. I would like to see him playing for the Steelers next season. I think it's been fun. I think he's behaved himself for the most part. But I'd give it 50-50 now. I don't think he'll play somewhere else. I guess that's what I would say. I think it's the Steelers or retirement. He'll get offers, but I'm not sure any of those offers are going to be as attractive as staying in Pittsburgh.
Really? See, I agree with you. If I were him, I would try and play next year, because I can't go out like that having two turnovers for a touchdown to end my career after everything I've done in my career. I would not be able to end like that. I mean, if I was him, I'd try and, obviously there's always been links with him to the Vikings the last couple of years. Are we sure? Yeah, they're going to try and bring some competition to JJ McCarthy this season.
I mean, they should, but I don't think Aaron Rodgers is the play. Now, I'm not saying they won't do that, but Aaron Rodgers will do nothing for JJ McCarthy's development. I think if you bring in Aaron Rodgers, that isn't competition. That's telling JJ McCarthy, you're not playing next year.
But the Vikings are in a window. That's the thing. This Vikings roster is so...
They're in a window, Sam. Yeah. They think they're in a window. That's the thing, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, losing Brian Flores is crucial. If they lose Brian Flores, again, I kind of do agree with you there. Great start from True Media Sports here. There have been 283 instances where NFL QB has had 20 or more pass attempts in a playoff game since 2013. Aaron Rodgers' game on Monday against the Texans ranks 283rd, so it's the worst ever performance in terms of dropback success rate and EPA per dropback. I would not be able to go out like that whatsoever. I mean, look, props to the Texans defense as well. Before you go on to pick these games, they roll on. They're winning a 10th straight game and winning a playoff game for a 3rd straight season. Their offense was rough in this game for the first time in a while, and Nick Collins was carted to the locker room with a concussion as well, which doesn't look great for them going forward. But this defense is so good, I don't think that really matters, to be honest with you. With this defense, they can beat anyone. They've showed that throughout this season. Obviously, they've beaten the likes of Buffalo. They've been so many impressive teams this season, but just purely because of this defense. I do think they have a shot against New England. And, well, let's get on to it. Let's get on to picking these 4 games now. Before we start, let's just take a quick look at the standings, because there's been a major change since the last podcast. After going 10-6 in week 18 and 5-1 in the wildcard round, I am now above 500 for the first time since week 9. The gap between the guests' combined record and mine has extended to 11 games over the last couple of weeks, meaning that I've already won the competition for the season, but still it must go on. It's been a great, again, 5-1, and I picked all 6 winners. It's just the Rams not covering cost me. So I had a great week last week, which I was very happy with. Here we are. We're down to the final 8 teams, the final 8 quarterbacks. Only one ring between them, which has only happened 3 times since the millennium, and that quarterback with the ring is Matthew Stafford. And you mentioned it earlier, Ben, 7 of those 8 quarterbacks are under the age of 30, and then there's Matthew Stafford, who's 37. But this is really, for the first time, this is a real change in the guard at quarterback in the AFC. For the first time in 26 seasons, for the 3rd time ever. The only other 2 seasons this happened was in 1999 and 2000. 3 quarterbacks in their first all-second season will start in the division round. Obviously, Drake May, Bo Nix, and Caleb Williams. And for the first time in 16 seasons, 4 different teams will host divisional round games in the prior season, and 3 divisional games will be hosted by teams that missed the playoffs last season. That's Chicago, New England, and Seattle. And let's start in Buffalo. Let's start in Denver. The Broncos go to Denver. So the Bills go to Denver. The 6 seed Bills are going up against the 1 seed Broncos. This game is on CBS on Saturday night, which is 9:30 here in the UK, which is a weird schedule in there from the NFL. Buffalo are 1.5 point favourites in this game. Which way are you going here, Ben?
I've just got to keep riding this Bills train. I'm going to go with the Bills to win this outright. Depending on where you look, there's kind of like they're either -1-ish or +1-ish. I don't want this to sound like I don't have faith in the Broncos, don't have faith in Bo Nix or Sean Payton. I just think the Bills have just got something going, and I'm not saying they look unstoppable, but I feel this matchup works out nicely for them.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm going to hit Buffalo. The Broncos are feel hard done by. They're the number 1 seed. They're at home. They're coming off a bye week, and yet they are underdogs in the playoffs. So you got to feel pretty hard done by if you're the Broncos from Vegas there. But I mean, like the Bills, just again, I agree with you. I think they've been there, done it before. I just trust them in this kind of game, and I don't think I trust Bo Nix yet, and I think that's it as well. I also don't know how Broncos. If the Broncos run the football well, like they have done at points this season, they've absolutely got a chance in this game. But I don't know if that's going to be the case. I'm going for Buffalo as well. And shout out to the Broncos. They lead the league in sacks. The lead in sacks allowed as well. So it's the best ever sack differential in NFL history. So plus 45 sack differential from the Broncos, which is huge. And again, they're looking for their first playoff win since Super Bowl 50. And it's their first home playoff game since the 2015 AFC Championship game as well. So it's been a long time since the Broncos have been in a spot like this. Let's go to the NFC now. Again, number 1 seed against number 6 seed. Seattle hosting the Niners. This game is at 1 a.m. on Saturday. It's going to be called by Kevin Burkhardt and Tom Brady. The Seahawks are 7.5 point favourites in this game, despite losing their last 3 playoff games, and the Niners winning 9 postseason games since the Seahawks last won a playoff game, which is just crazy. Obviously, This is the rematch of the battle for the 1 seed 2 weeks ago. The Seahawks won that game pretty comfortably, which is why they are 7.5 point favourites, right?
Yeah, I've got a lot of time for this Seahawks team. Sam Darnold obviously has been a revelation, like he was for much of the previous season. I don't know if you can just keep being a revelation and keep making these comebacks. And I don't know if we're going to get regular season Sam Darnold or we're going to get playoff Sam Darnold. I feel like we're going to get the steady Sam Darnold that we've seen in Seattle. The 49ers are so banged up, and it seems a little bit foolish, really, picking against the 49ers using the logic of the injuries because they barely have any players who are healthy and yet still are able to constantly win games. I'm going to go, it's a big line, but I'm going to go with Seattle. I don't even think it's the home field advantage. I think it is just the wear and tear on the 49ers, and they've had the short week. The Seahawks are well rested. The 49ers could have really done with just even an extra 24 hours. So I'm going to go with the Seahawks.
I'm going to go for the Niners. I'm going to go the other way. I think Seattle can absolutely win this game, but I think this will be a close one. I can't see them winning by multiple scores, obviously. 8 points is not quite multiple scores, but I think this will be close. I can't really call it, so I'm going to go for the Niners in that aspect. And if they do win this game, they should have Fred Warner back for the NFC Championship game as well. His window to practice opened in this week, so which is great news for them. Hopefully, getting healthier as the season comes to a close. Right, Sunday's games: Houston, New England. The 2 seed Patriots host the 5 seed Texans. This one is at 8 p.m. on Sunday. It's the Joe Buck and Troy Aikman game. In this one, the Patriots are 3.5 point favourites. And here's a stat before we pick this game, Ben. Houston has faced a top 10 scoring offense 8 times this season. New England has faced a top 10 scoring defense 0 times this season. So one team is incredibly battle tested, the other is not. We're about to learn who exactly the New England Patriots are. They are 3.5 point favorites in this one.
I like this stat because it reaffirms my belief that the Texans are going to pull the upset here. I think this Texans defense is one that they can ride past the Patriots. And again, this is no disrespect to the Patriots, or I'm just taking them lightly that this has been a fluke. I don't think it's been a fluke. This is a good team, but the phrase you use, battle tested, I think it is important. Yes, they got through that playoff game against the Chargers, and that's a big deal psychologically for a new team with a new head coach and a quarterback in only his second season. But this Texans team, the defense is so disruptive that if they can get after Drake May, then they can win this game. And I think that is what they can do. I think it is going to be close. What's the line? 3.5?
3.5.
Yeah. So I'm going to take Houston in this.
Me too. I think they're going to reach the first AFC Championship game in team history, which I think the defense is just. I've been saying literally since the preview podcast. I said I think it's going to be the best defense in the NFL this season, and I'm rolling with them all the way here. Give me Houston. These two teams actually met in Drake May's first start back in Week 6 of 2024. Houston won that day 41-21. Obviously, it's the first time they faced since. Really interesting one. I'm sure that ESPN will bring up on Sunday. And then the NBC game, Sunday Night Football, sees the 2 seed Chicago Bears host the 5 seed LA Rams. Again, the another road favourite going to a team that's much higher seeded than them. The Rams are 3.5 point favourites in this one. Well, Ben, I mean, I'm sure you're hoping for a Chicago win. Whether it actually happens or not is another story.
Yeah. I am picking the Rams in this one, and I just feel the Rams have just got too much firepower for this Bears defense. Basically, I'm not going with the Alex Smith prediction of the Rams putting 50 on the Bears, but I do think that they will score more than the Green Bay Packers did. So, as good as this Bears team is, they will need to have a fast start to be able to keep up with this Rams team. Otherwise, I think Sean McVay is too good a coach, Matt Stafford is too good a quarterback, and they have too good a wide receiver room, I'm afraid, for the Bears to be able to kind of spot someone in lead and come back. The Bears defense is so banged up, and even the starters aren't that great anyway. I just can't see anything but a Rams win. I'm hoping I'm wrong, but to me, logic says the Rams will cover this spread.
Yeah, I'm going to go for the Rams too. I want nothing more than for Chicago to win this game. I think it would be a great story for the NFL. But yeah, I think the Rams are going to get this one and cover that 3.5 point spread. These two teams actually haven't played each other in the playoffs in the last 40 years. The last time they played was in the 1985 NFC Championship game, which is fascinating. And it's also Sean McVay's 15th playoff game. This is his 15th different opponent in the postseason. A different team every single time the Browns play the playoff game.
How is
which
that
is
possible?
They've played every single team in the NFC in the playoffs, which is. Yeah.
Maybe he should just retire now after this one. Like he's completed the set or move to the AFC.
I guess they played. It's not quite every team in the NFC. They've obviously played Super Bowls, but almost completed the set. That is absolutely crazy. Okay, right, that's all for today's podcast. A big thank you, Ben, for joining me tonight. What have you got planned for the rest of the playoffs?
Edge rush with Nat Coombs and Propo Ollie Thornton, and with the college football season coming to an end, College Day podcast with Dom Corbett. That's College Days DAZE. In the episode that's out now, we previewed the national championship game, which in effect is Monday Night Football this week. So there's no NFL playoff game on Monday night, so if you want more football, that's the game to watch on Monday night. And if you listen to that podcast, we'll get you ready. It's Indiana versus Miami, and it's just free on DAZN. So anyone can just watch that without paying a penny. So listen to the podcast. They'll get you ready.
Awesome. I certainly will be doing that. It won't be long until our next podcast. We'll be back in a week's time to break down these 4 games this weekend and look ahead to what is looking to be a very different championship weekend than what we've been used to in the last couple of years. I've been Sam Moores. This has been the 40 Yard NFL podcast, and I will see you then. I really do hope you enjoy your divisional round weekend.